What's going on, YouTubers, gamers and fellow hobbyists? Welcome to this episode of Hobby 1-to-1. In this episode I'm going to be showing you how I go about preparing my metal miniatures. Now before we get going, there's a bit of an addendum to the equipment I like to use, and that is the use of gloves. These latex gloves, they are absolutely brilliant and they are handy not just for painting but especially for using things like super glue, which is something you'll need when you come to a model with metal miniatures, by the way. But in the preparation of the model, it's also handy for the reason of not transferring oils from your hand onto the model before you put any paint on it whatsoever. So that's why I like to use them. Okay, so for the purpose of this video, I'm going to be working on two metal models. The one on the left is a Hordes model from the Minions faction, and the one on the right I just picked up from eBay, and I'm not entirely sure what the model range is. But the reason I've got two is I'm going to show you two ways of getting rid of the mold release residue that can usually and most often appears on the metal models. But first of all, we're going to have a look at all the flash here and take off all the bits and pieces. Look around the model first, make sure you familiarize yourself with it. You don't want to be cutting off bits of flash that you think are flash and it's actually part of the model. So sometimes on a model you get a picture with them, so look at the picture or have a look online, see other pictures of the same model. I'm fairly confident that this big long line is a piece of flash, so I'm just going to get rid of that. Okay, so you go around the model, you cut off all the obvious bits like that, and just make sure you get all the bits. So go around the model really thoroughly, don't rush it. There's nothing worse than preparing your metal miniature, cutting off all the bits you think, filing it down and whatever else, then you come to prime it and then you see bits you've missed, because believe me, priming really highlights areas you've missed. Once you've done that, what I do then is I use my mold line remover, strip off any obvious mold lines and harder to get rid of. When it's harder to get rid of, I use my jeweler's files. I've got loads of these and I can't recommend these highly enough. They are absolutely brilliant when dealing with metal miniatures. I mean, they're brilliant for plastic ones too, but for the metal ones they are absolutely superb. Because on the plastic ones you can get away with nail files and like fine grade sandpaper and wet and dry paper, but you can't really, even you can to a certain degree on metal, but not when it's like when they're really bad. Files are always best. So once that's done, I then do exactly the same procedure with the other model. I'm just getting it up to the same standard, but the other thing I wanted to highlight here is that sometimes you get little bits of flash in areas, almost like flaps of flash, like a flap of skin almost, and if you look there in between the scabbard is one such area, and I'm just using my hobby knife to dig that out and to get rid of it, and then to scrape off any remaining mold lines. Always of course be careful when using a hobby knife, and don't cut yourself basically. Okay, so now we are ready to wash off the any residue that's left over from the mold release process or anything else. Basically any residue that's left on the model, and what I'm using is warm soapy water for this and an old toothbrush. So just give it a good thorough scrubbing all over. As you can see, good job I got the latex gloves on so that I don't transfer any oils from my hands to the model. So a proper thorough scrubbing with that, and that will stand you in good stead. Okay, and there's the finished result. Make sure you thoroughly dry the model off when you use that method. Okay, the other method I like to use is a wire brush, just scrubbing all over, make sure I get all that residue off. Now the bristles on these wire brushes are in fact softer than the metal of the model, so it does not damage the model, I can verify that. And this is excellent for taking off any residue on the model. And you end up with, what you end up with is a very similar result to the other method of the water and toothbrush. This way is obviously quicker because it doesn't take any drying time. So then when you've done that, you're then able to put them on two bases, which will enable you to put them on holders, such as that. Okay, as you see, some of them have got like slotted bases. Depending on the model, you might want to cut the slot off on either pin, something we'll deal with later, or just glue the feet on. It depends on the size and weight of the model, and the juxtaposition of the model to the base itself. So dry fit it first anyway, and then what I like to do is glue it onto the base and give it plenty of time to dry. Now, people will say, oh yes, it's super glue, it only takes about 10 to 20 seconds of drying time. In my experience, it takes a little longer than that. Obviously, the more glue you apply, the longer it takes to dry, but it does take a little longer than that. Not when it comes to skin. You can stick your fingers together quite easily, so beware of that. Which is another good reason for wearing gloves, of course. Okay, so I'm just gluing the other one onto a base. In this example, I'm using a 2p piece, probably the cheapest bases you can find. I'm just doing that for this example so I can show you the finished results. And there you go. That's basically how I prepare my metal miniatures, and there they are, all ready for priming. So I hope you found this video useful. Thanks very much for watching, I do appreciate it. Remember, you can share this video, like this video, and that helps me out immensely. So thank you very much for watching. Remember, all brushes lead to war, and bye for now. Don't forget, if you would like to help support me and further the professional output of this channel, then you can do so. Just click on the Patreon link, which should be on the screen now, or if not, it will be in the video description below. Check out my Patreon page, and that would be very much appreciated indeed. And it all goes towards helping me produce more content and more professional content for this channel. I do thank you very much indeed. Bye for now.